back to the K-Cup. Glad you're here. We have some great information for you today on the importance of being organized in the construction industry. And I'm here with John Kelly, the CEO and owner of Kelly Construction Group. And I'm Joe Nortrup, your host.
John Kelly.
We're back at it. Glad you're here. So I know you have some what you consider really key points about the importance of being organized in the construction industry. So let's dive in, man. Tell us about what your take is on the importance of being organized, and then maybe you can get into some specifics on how you can do that so that you are successful and, as you say, thrive in the construction industry.
Yeah, I think a big part of having a company that thrives is just being very organized. I think, notoriously contractors are known for not communicating well and being very unorganized. So we've made a real intentional effort to be organized, and our clients will say as much. They'll talk about how good it is working with us, just from that standpoint. Not necessarily about getting the job done and getting this, but just communicating and staying organized. And it seemed to serve us really well. I mean, that's something that we really focused on because of that known thing, if you will, that contractors aren't organized. And it's worked out well for us. I know today we're going to talk about being organized in quite a few ways, and I think it's key to be organized. You have to be.
Yeah. So let's just dive into the different ways that you wanted to talk about organization. I know first off you wanted to talk about being organized as an individual. I know as a leader and then as a team member myself, it's important that we organize ourselves, so that we can execute every day. So how do you see that take shape?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing you're thinking about when you think about being organized is what can I do? There's actually quite a few things that we're going to talk about today. Just being organized as a company, having your team organized, organizing your proposals, your leads, just all of those things, organizing your financials are a big part of it. So there's lots of different pieces to being organized, and I'm sure we'll probably hit on all of these today and may take a deeper dive some point down the road on some of these individually.
Sure.
But just first being organized as a person, I think about, when I started in business, 17 years ago, it looked a lot different than it does today. There was certainly a need to be organized then, and more so now, just because there's a lot more irons in the fire. There's a lot more things happening. But back in the day, I realized early on that, any phone call that came my way or any communication with an owner, always, or subcontractor or whoever, it always basically turned to a task for me. And if I wasn't getting those written down, then things weren't getting done. And the best way to lose a good client or even a good subcontractor is don't do what you're saying you're going to do. And that usually comes from being unorganized. So I started off just like a lot of people, just using the notepad, just putting down a big list of stuff that had to be done. But as the company began to grow, what I soon realized is I had this massive list of stuff that was just kind of overwhelming.
I would guess.
I didn't feel like I could get everything done on the list. The list wasn't really prioritized. I didn't know what was the most important on the list.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah. So I soon found that I needed to do something a little more than that. I'd already used a calendar basically for important events, job meetings or whatever. But I really started to live by my calendar. And I think that's when I really, to begin to feel at ease with the stuff that I had to do because it was all planned out. And, then I did everything. I did the estimating, I did the billing, I did the project management, I was on site. So basically what I would do is block my calendar out for those type of transactions, whether it was a project management, whether it was billing or whatever.
All the different tasks.
And basically I would drop my list into those windows. So what that did, that gave me a sense of, okay, this list is massive, but I know on Friday I'm taking care of these 3 items. And I know on Thursday I'm taking care of these 2 items. And it gave me a peace knowing that I had time set aside to get that list done. And that was really a game changer. Because when you're just feeling overwhelmed and trying to get everything done. I know for me personally, I can kind of shut down, and not to the sense that I'm not doing anything, but just not producing at a high level.
Just not effective, yeah.
So just once I begin to really focus on that organization, my personal production increased significantly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so big on everybody staying organized. I talk about that here all the time.
Yeah.
I talk about using our calendars till we're blue in the face, and
yeah.
Everybody gets tired of hearing it. But at the same time, everybody is also saying things like, "Well, man, ever since I've started doing this,
yeah,
I find my job a lot easier. I'm able to do more stuff."
Yeah.
Uh,
Time blocking really slows down time so that you can manage it instead of it managing you.
right. Yeah. I mean, you hear that all the time. Manage your time, manage your time. But truthfully, you can't. We all have the same amount of time. What you can manage is yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So nowadays I use something very similar. We all have a program that we all use to keep our task up and lined up or what in front of us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we use that same method where we have our tasks, we drop it into our window blocks. Obviously now my window blocks look a lot different than they did 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supervising jobs. I'm not doing project management. I'm doing other things. Feel free to drop a golf joke.
Tea time.
I
got to make sure those are on the schedule.
It looks a lot different now, but I still use the same thing. And the main point I'm trying to make here, there's tons of ways to do this.
Yeah.
The main thing is you have to find a way to stay organized.
Yeah.
And your company is gonna thrive. Your relationship with your clients, your relationship with your subcontractors, everybody's gonna work. It's gonna work great for everybody because you're doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that pays dividends.
Yeah. I know for me personally, you encourage us to take advantage of our Outlook calendars because it's part of our email app that we use here. And I've fallen in love with Outlook since then. It makes organizing your day so easy. And it not only gives you a calendar, but it also is an app for time blocking because when you look on the app, every thing that you schedule it shows up like a block for that day.
Right.
And so it's amazing when you have a block of time, like you said, to execute a certain task. When you're inside of that block, you can breathe. You don't worry about the next task until you hit that other time block.
Right.
And so you can really focus on what you're doing and get it done. And that's huge because we do a lot of gear shifting here, no matter what our job is, in the team. Each of those positions, you're shifting gears. You're going from one type of task to another. Sometimes you're forward facing and you have to be interacting with somebody at the job site or on the phone, and then other times you're back now taking care of administrative type stuff on your desktop.
Right.
So that's how time blocking seems to make that shifting those gears a lot easier, because once you enter that time block, you just put on that different hat, that different approach for getting that task done, and you handle it. So
right,
it's a great tool.
I know there's always going to be little fires that pop up and they get in your time block, and
sure,
you're trying to focus, but something's coming up that has to be done.
Yeah.
And the avenue to fix that is you have to have that flex spot on your calendar where when a fire pops up, you drop that task into that spot.
Yeah.
It may be Friday evening when you're supposed to leave at 4, but you got that flex time from 4 to 5 and you stay to get it done, or Saturday morning or whatever.
We don't like that flex time. I mean, we
right?
Find one like a Monday at 8.
But the point is, find that one little flex window that you can have, and it just ensures that you get your task done and you stay on top of it. You stay on schedule.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so I mean that's a pretty good outline on the importance of being organized personally, so that you know how your day is going to play out, and also to make sure that you're following up. Like you said, if you don't follow up with a subcontractor, if they're waiting on a call from you and the call never comes and they lose a day, now you've got somebody, instead of being on your team and helping you get something accomplished, may become a problem for you because you really cost them money and time as well. So
Yeah.
that's a very important point that you made there about being able to follow up and do what you said you're going to do when you said you're going to do it, whether it's a subcontractor or the client. Either one, they're both of those are their time is just as valuable as ours. So
Right.
it's important that we respect that, and our personal calendars help us make that happen.
Right.
So yeah. So another thing that you had mentioned about being organized, and we're talking about being organized for success and thriving in the construction industry, is managing your sales efforts.
Right.
And that's huge. We know that sales is a huge percentage of what makes your business work.
Right.
So without sales, there is no business.
Yeah.
So maybe you can discuss with us how you go about managing your sales efforts, how you track that, and stay organized.
Yeah. I think, for one, we didn't have any sales for a long time, and uh, we just didn't. I was small. I didn't really feel like there was room for sales in construction almost. Like I just kind of thought it was word of mouth and this and that. But anyway, we have realized that sales pays off, and I mean you're full time sales now. Uh, but it is important to have a system, to have a structure, to be organized, because if not, then what's the point of even trying to put something in place?
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways to organize, I guess, your sales efforts, if you will. I know there's CRMs, there's all kind of stuff out there,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and some of those are probably useful. But for here, I don't think that we don't have enough leads to manage to really justify buying a CRM. So we've kind of created our own in-house structure, if you will.
Yeah.
We use some scorecards and tracking systems and different things. I think the important part is, and staying organized part of it is make sure you get all the correct contact info for that person right up front.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you stay in touch with them. On a follow-up call, set a specific time and date, and
Yeah.
hit that date and time
Be intentional,
right
with
on
it.
the nail.
Yeah.
And when you do, you're impressing them right now before the job even starts. They see your intentionality. They see that you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's huge. The other part of managing it is just having everybody in our organization know what we're telling this particular lead, because a lot
Yeah.
of times you're committing to giving them an estimate or giving them a number when the estimating department don't even know about this lead or anything.
Yeah, that could be a real problem.
So we've built a system here that allows everybody to know where that lead is at, what the process is, who we've talked to, what we've committed to,
Yeah.
and they are able to see that.
Yeah.
And when you can go hit all those dates and hit all those promises during the lead process, you've already gained a lot of confidence with that owner, because that's just something that they don't see often.
Yeah.
So it's important to stay organized on your leads. It's important to get all the critical key information from them, and then follow up and do the things that you're telling them you're going to do. And you can't do any of that if you don't have an organized approach.
Yeah.
So, like we said earlier, there's CRMs. There's plenty of things that are out there. All we're trying to say is it's important to stay organized.
Yeah.
Do what works for you, but stay organized.
Yeah, sales in construction differs a lot from typical business where you're selling a product or service that you might have high turnover. You're constantly selling to new clients. Construction industry is different than that, and so 9 times out of 10, whoever is at the point of contact initially is going to be handing this person, this lead, off to somebody else. So like you said, it's very important, if you want to appear to be professional, in that you could actually manage this person's project well, if they decide to give you an opportunity. It's important that you're able to hand that person off to the appropriate person that's going to go to the next step, and that they have the information they need to, one, sound like they know what they're doing. Like, you don't want to send somebody into a situation and you don't even know the person's name, you don't have no contact info for them, you never really discuss what they're even contacting you for, so you have no clue what the project or
Right.
idea that is that they have.
Yeah,
So
typically the owner is impressed when our estimator reaches out and they know that they have a 5,000 square foot renovation that needs all new finishes.
it's a huge
They've never even
impression.
heard from them. They've never even spoke to them. This is the first time.
Yeah,
Uh, Stuff like that goes a long way.
really does. It does. So so like you brought out, John, we've developed our system with the volume that you have in construction. We don't really need a classic CRM like Salesforce or something like that where you have these prompts to constantly follow up with somebody. It's a different um, pace in construction and a different way of doing that. So we've developed our own. We use spreadsheets. When I go out in the field, I have a particular spreadsheet that I use to organize my daily efforts in the field. And then you have a sales or it is a spreadsheet for sales that allows you to track all the leads, how they're aggregated, what leads produce what results. I mean, you have all that with our CRM that we've developed ourselves,
Right.
and it allows you to be very intentional with where you're going to point your energy in sales because you're seeing what efforts are producing results and things like that.
And the
So
cool thing about your sheet is, I mean, you literally go out, you fill this thing out per drop, per client you're meeting with.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, you know the time that it cost, you know the time that you spent,
yeah,
you know the actual cost that, I
yeah.
mean, you can literally come in back into the office and you can say, we spent this much money today
Today, that's
in
right.
our sale efforts, which is pretty cool, powerful tool to have.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, the formulas that you can use like in an Excel spreadsheet, like we're using. It tracks my time. It tracks the materials that we're using in our sales efforts. My mileage on my vehicle, everything, literally. So we can put a dollar value to the efforts made that day, like you said. So that's really being organized. So if you get anything even close to that, you're going to be heading in the right direction with organizing your sales. So
Yeah, and I don't want to dive too deep. We could keep talking
yeah,
on and on
sure. Yeah,
about
we
this,
could
but
go
I
on
mean,
and on about
it
that for
gives you the
sure.
cost of the. I mean, you start to understand what the lead actually cost you.
Yes,
You know, what a job actually costs you to get,
that's
and
right.
it's a lot of good information.
Yes,
Uh, like I say, well, we can talk about that some other time. I don't want this
sure. Yeah,
episode to drag on too
yeah.
long,
We could
but
go way
lots of
down
good
a
information.
yeah. We could go way down a rabbit hole on sales. That's a huge topic. So the other way that you need to stay organized with construction, and we've talked about this many times, and we want to share a little bit on that today, is how to organize your when you're presenting bids and proposals that you get. How do you track that? How do you organize those to where you're following up properly and hopefully moving those forward from proposal to project.
Yeah. So again, that's changed a lot over time. Thinking back 17 years ago, one, there was a lot less jobs to track, but two, I just didn't really have the knowledge or the you know the financial requirements to move into a bigger
Yeah.
program. But I started off using just Windows. I would just basically create folders in Windows for every job.
Hmm.
I did create a template for every folder that would include like contracts, subcontracts, estimate,
Yeah.
pay applications,
Had your
and
checklist.
yeah, every job had those own specific folders.
Yeah.
Uh, and I used that for a number of years, but once I really started to try to grow a team, that's when that system kind of stopped working.
Yeah.
Everybody needed access to files, so we had people in and out of folders, and documents would disappear, or folders would be moved around because that's very easy to
Can't
do
imagine that.
in Windows. But I started off that way, and it worked well for me for a long time because I was the only one there. So
Yeah.
it was easy for me to keep it organized.
Sure.
Once we started to have multiple hands in the pot, we soon realized we needed to do something different. And two, with that method, nothing really worked together. My estimate spreadsheet was standalone.
Yeah.
My subcontracts were standalone,
Yeah.
meaning if I billed for something, the buyout didn't get updated.
Yeah.
There was no way for everything to work together in the system that I had.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about what we have now, and we bought into some construction software.
Yeah.
We actually use Red Team software.
Yeah.
Is you can handle. It has everything from pre-construction to closeout. but everything works together. Everything's built off of the estimate.
Yeah.
So it brings all of our team working together, and everything works. The numbers match, the reports match.
All the vendor quotes, everything.
Yeah. So the estimator, they put together the estimate. They put it into Red Team software. All the buyouts are done off of the estimate, so you know that you're buying out the right amounts.
Nice.
Billing is done. Everything's done in that one system.
Yeah.
So if you pay a subcontractor, it automatically updates the budget.
Yes.
It's just a way of really getting all of our projects very organized.
Yeah.
And now it's something that when we tell a client or a potential client that we're going to get your project done in an organized manner, just that tool right there empowers us a lot to do what we're saying, to follow up and get done what we're saying we're going to do.
Yeah.
So cool thing about it is it just puts all your project in one nutshell and very organized, and everybody can collectively work together.
Yeah.
And the last part, and I've already said it, but all the numbers work, all the reports work.
Yeah.
Everything works together. So when you're showing a client information, you're confident that everybody's working off of the same stuff. So it's really give us a level of organization on our projects that we didn't have, and we see that payoff every week actually.
Yeah.
From job meetings to performance overviews, everything that we use it for, the client's always impressed.
Yeah. So Red Team is amazing. Like I'd mentioned to you before, the thing that first impressed me with it was there are so many different scopes that you have to manage in one project, particularly as a GC, and it manages all those buckets. And like you said, it carries forward. What's left in the bucket. The bucket starts here full, and then as the project goes, the level in that bucket keeps getting lower and lower.
Yeah.
And man, if you were operating in the blind and didn't know what those buckets had left in them, it could be hard or difficult to even close that project out in confidence.
Yeah.
And I could see where you could possibly, and you probably did this before you got to the point where you had a program like Red Team to use to keep the job organized, but you spent a lot of time worrying about, is this thing going to get done? Do I have money left, in my last pay app or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it takes all that guesswork and worry out of it and allows you to focus on other things because it's organized.
And the other thing it does too, it gives you a really nice professional presentation.
Yes.
Whether it's a proposal, whether it's a budget, whether it's a daily progress report, or performance overview.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everything is clean, professional, and it just really goes along with the image that we're trying to sell. That look, we're going to be organized. We're going to do the best job that we can actually do, and it helps with that. I mean, these it looks really professional. So I think that's huge. That's important.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, whether you're presenting a budget to a potential client for a project, or you're giving progress reports to the architect or the project owner, like you said, you have that performance overview report that you can send out. And I mean, if that doesn't impress and show that you take your business seriously, I don't know what would.
Yeah.
It's a very nicely organized report, and it's very succinct. It's easy for them to figure out what the report is telling them and all that. So very impressive. And of course, there's different stages of being organized when it comes to your bid proposals and potential projects in construction. Of course, this is, like you said, you didn't start out this way with this software, but there are a lot of options out there. So if you're in the business and you're not to this level of organizing your proposals and your projects, you might look at the options out there and see if there isn't one that's that is affordable that you can work with. Because like you said, at first you didn't think you could afford it, and then you got to the point where you said that you realized that you couldn't afford not to.
Right.
And
definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes everything just flow so well around here. So that kind of it dovetails right into the last point of organization that we wanted to talk about, because I think that Red Team in your, the program you use for finances, I think they communicate. But finances is another thing that's huge.
Yeah.
If you want to stay in business and be successful in the construction industry, you need to manage the money.
Right.
So what can you share with us about that?
Yeah, I mean, just like everything else we've talked about, there's programs to keep your financing together and to keep your financing in place.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. I think it's really really definitely important. But I think the more important part of it is just to know your numbers.
Yes.
Like I think what happens in a lot of contracting businesses is everybody gets caught up in, well, the job goes for 6% or the job goes for 10% or 12% or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're out there taking jobs at cost plus 10% or cost plus 12% or whatever it is, but you don't actually know if that number works for you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know truly what the job is costing you to get it done.
Exactly.
So when I think about getting organized, I think about organizing all those numbers, all those costs that go into getting a job done, go into operating the company,
yeah,
and building a list of those costs and making sure you have those costs covered so that you can actually go out there and make money.
Yeah.
Because if you get caught up in a world of bidding jobs at a certain percent that don't actually make sense for your business, then you may work for a year and you realize at the end of the year, man, I didn't make $1. I actually lost whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the first part to being organized is organize your numbers and actually know what they are, know what you got to do to make money.
Yeah.
Project that revenue so that you know what your break-even number is.
Yeah.
Just know your numbers. And then to your point, financially, there's a lot of other systems out there, and we do use a program to organize our stuff. And it does mesh with our QuickBooks. I'm sorry, we use QuickBooks, and it mesh with Red Team.
Red Team, yeah.
And Red Team and QuickBooks together has been great. I know initially, 5, 6, 8 years ago, and we've used Red Team probably 8 to 10 years. But we slowly but surely started bringing in all the pieces. We initially just used it for estimating. Then we brought in the financial piece of it.
Yeah.
But we now use it as a whole and have been for quite a few years.
Yeah.
But QuickBooks and Red Team work together. So initially we would double enter a lot of stuff. We would double enter. We would need QuickBooks to know we got to pay this vendor.
Yeah.
But we would also want our report to know how much, the budget to know what the thing costs.
So now they're
integrated. We were double entering all this information.
Yeah.
We would enter superintendent time against the budget in Excel or wherever. Mm-hmm. We'd have to turn around and do it again in QuickBooks to make sure we pay our superintendent. Yeah. So
how long have they been integrated like that?
Yeah, they've been integrated now for probably 5, 6 years, 4 or 5 years for sure. I mean, time runs together, right?
Yeah.
We already been in our new office like a couple of years, and it feels like a few weeks.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was nice to be able to have that financial program that works with our construction software.
Yes.
And eliminated a lot of double entry.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that organization and have that kind of stuff working together. I mean, that upped our productivity right there, just being able to have that.
Absolutely.
So it's important to have that kind of program, but more importantly, I think you got to know your numbers.
Yeah.
And be organized in that aspect.
Yes.
And those other things come as you're organized. The more you get organized, the more revenue you're able to go out there and get, and you become more profitable, and you're able to spend money on things like these programs that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the important key is know your numbers and make sure you're making money.
Yeah. I mean, there are actually projects out there that you can't afford to take.
Right.
For what they're going for.
Right.
But you wouldn't know that if you don't know your number. So
that's true.
Very important.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you'll get caught up in the game, and you go out there and you get a project that don't make sense for you. So important to know your numbers and stick to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So some great tips, John. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you got some value out of these tips on organizing yourself and organizing your business so that you can be here next week and the month after that and the year after that. Continue to thrive. Like you said, be organized and thrive. So that's
Right.
kind of the theme of this episode. So hope you enjoyed it. Come on back again and see us here at the K Cup. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.